when you look upon these pedophile trafficking network and so on, there are, even though it sounds incredibly sick and so on, there are actually parents delivering children to these rings. I mean, their own children as well.
Hey friends, I hope you've had a very happy Thanksgiving, and I want to welcome you back, and I also want to welcome back my good friend Ole Dammegard. His website is lightonconspiracies.com. He's an author, a speaker, and a researcher, and an all-around truth teller. Ole, welcome back. How are you, my friend?
I'm super jet lagged, but very, very happy and good.
Yeah, I saw you tweet the other day. You were in the States, weren't you?
Yeah, I've been at I was invited as one of the key speakers at the JFK conference in Dallas, which was absolutely amazing. There was about 30 speakers, and my God, what people. It was just incredible.
Excellent. It has to be fun to hang around with some like-minded, awakened people, huh?
Yeah, but not only that, but it's sort of like many of these people have proved themselves under fire, if you understand what I mean. Many of them have gone through absolute hell and been threatened and had their careers destroyed, everything, and they're still standing, for these beautiful things as truth and compassion. And so it's a real honor to be among them, so I so enjoyed it.
Was Jim Mars there?
Yeah, I said there was 30. I can just go, if you want to, I can just go quick through who were there.
Yeah, tell us a little bit about it, because I buy the magic bullet theory, hook, line, and sinker, man. I didn't believe that JFK was assassinated by the powers that be until they told me about the magic bullet, and I said, "Oh, I thought that makes sense. Sure, it must have been a magic bullet." I'm kidding. Go ahead.
I tell you, Sean, there are the real two. Conspiracies is the JFK assassination and 9/11. These are the two major ones. There's so many others, but these, like the JFK assassination, it's a real masterpiece when it comes to conspiracies. I mean, here 53 years later, we're still confused on some levels, so they really pulled one off there.
Yeah.
But at this conference, it was arranged by Judith Vary Baker, who was the mistress of Lee Harvey Oswald. A fantastic woman who's gone through absolute hell as well for trying to clear his name for the involvement or the killing of JFK, because he was absolutely innocent. On the contrary, he was involved trying to stop the assassination, and then he was used to take the fall for it. So it's an absolute tragedy, and it's horror that he's the one being blamed for it.
While you were at the conference, did you learn anything new from any speakers? Was there any new light shed on the conspiracy that you'd want to share with us?
Yeah, for sure. One of the things for me, I mean, after 30 odd years studying this case in great detail, just to be around and walk around in Dealey Plaza, go to Oswald's rooming house where he was, lying in his bed, meeting Beverly Oliver, one of the witnesses. There was the captain of the Marine who was there receiving the body of JFK. So many people that were directly involved were there. Sean Stone, Oliver Stone's son, was there. John B. Wells from Caravan to Midnight, he was there. Sure. John Barber, an incredible man, who was he's the winner of 5 Emmy Awards and the father of reality TV, who's made several documentaries, really incredible documentaries. He was there. Judith Vary Baker was there. Abraham Bolden, who was the first black Secret Service agent appointed by JFK himself, he was there receiving a prize. Gary Fanning, a very great expert. Jim Fetzer, my good friend, he was there. Colonel William Gregory, who was a YouTube expert, expert and pilot, these YouTube planes. And Gary Powers, the pilot that was shot down in the Cold War over Russia, his son was there as one of the speakers as well. And then E. Howard Hunt's son was there, St. John Hunt, absolutely incredible guy who's had a very, very tragic life because both his parents were very high up in the CIA, and E. Howard Hunt deeply involved in many assassinations, including the JFK assassin, then put away and for the Watergate. And then Nixon just wanted to bury him, and that led to E. Howard Hunt and his wife Dorothy to start almost blackmailing the White House. And in the end, that was not a very good idea because they blew up the plane that St. John's mother was on. So she was killed just outside Chicago.
Oh, I didn't know that. You know, I did know that E. Howard Hunt, though, gave a deathbed confession that St. John Hunt made public. How much merit do you give to that deathbed confession in terms of its accuracy to your understanding of what actually happened that day?
I give it total credibility.
Yeah.
It was like, this is the weird thing in these areas of assassins and spies and so on. They're absolute scumbags, and then there are other people with a very high moral quality. It's very odd, you know. We look upon them as monsters, but when you look upon what they do and what they stand for, what they believe, they're doing the right thing. In their opinion, and many of them have very, very high morals. And especially when you're near your death, this is when I think people start telling the truth. And here, E. Howard Hunt was one of them. And the names that he gave, just it's spot on in my book.
Yeah. Well, to hear you say that about the moral degree of differency between some of these people, it reminds me of John Perkins, you know, Confessions of an Economic Hitman, working for the CIA all those years. I think at the time probably believing he was on the right side of history in terms of helping the U.S. Republic move forward with its best interests. And then he realized after time what was really going on, and he spent the rest of his life trying to wake people up to the fact that these economic hitmen, these banks, the CIA is going to do the same thing to this nation that it did to third world nations, and is in fact doing to this nation now. It's always interesting to see these insiders later in their lives turn around and become truth tellers, isn't it?
Yeah, it's fantastic. And what was amazing on this conference was also there was like the children of former spies and assassins that stepped forward. I mean, they're now grown up, they're in their 50s, 60s, and so on. But there were one woman whose father was he was a photographic expert working for the military and preparing for this assassination. He was, taking photos of Dealey Plaza and Dallas from above. He was supplying Washington with all of these things and many other aspects to the whole thing. And according to her, he was actually standing next to one of the shooters on the grassy knoll. And this was the first time ever that she stepped forward. So it was a massive thing for her, and she was very nervous about it. She was almost shaking afterwards and so on, but very brave to step forward. There was another woman whose father was a district attorney in New Orleans. And when you hear her talk about her childhood and so on, you start understanding how these spider webs behind the scenes are controlled through Freemasonic networks and so on. So it's very, very interesting to meet these people, as well as St. John, which I mean, my God, what a beautiful human being he is. And I mean, he's gone through absolute hell. He lost both his parents, and he buried himself in I think you can almost say, buried himself in drugs. And he's become a fantastic musician and a really, really nice guy. It was a great pleasure meeting him, and I hope we will remain friends, that we can stay in touch and so on.
Yeah, that's the clip I saw of you, I think from Twitter. You guys were jamming somewhere and he was playing the guitar. If I could somehow pull that down off of Twitter, I'd play some of that right now for you guys. But yeah, I think it just speaks to the spirit of everybody on the side of truth. Once you wake up to truth and you become a truth teller and you invest your entire life, heart, and soul into it, it's just really inspiring to be around others who have done the same. And a lot of us have been through the ringer. I don't know, have you been following PizzaGate at all in this country, Ole?
Following what?
PizzaGate. It's this child sex trafficking pedophilia ring that is breaking out thanks to news is breaking out about it thanks to WikiLeaks and the Podesta emails. Well, we got to get you on that, man. We got to get you on PizzaGate.
I've been tracking down these networks here in Europe and the States for many, many years. I mean, it's just horrendous. The thing is that all of these networks are connected, so it's like it's just that people see them as separate events, but they're not. You know, these things that happens in Belgium, France, Sweden, England, the States, they're all connected, you know, and these poor victims are being sent right, left, and center between all of these different pedophile rings. So it's horrific, horrific.
Yeah. Yeah, it sure is. And thanks to the Podesta WikiLeaks emails, we're now seeing evidence that people at the highest echelons of power in the U.S. government, including potentially some people at the Department of Justice, are involved in, well, get this. One of the names that comes up in this research is a man by the name of Andrew Klein, who reportedly and allegedly owns Besta Pizza in Washington, D.C., which had a logo that mirrored an adult boy lover pedophilia logo, and they've since changed it since this news broke. But apparently, Andrew Klein, researchers are indicating, is the same Andrew Klein who is part of the prosecution unit of the anti-child trafficking unit at the Department of Justice. And he owns this pizza parlor, which is knee-deep in what appears to be pedophilic practices. And it's very deep. I'll have to give you some articles to read, Ole, because this is the type of thing that it'd blow your mind if you started to read about and research PizzaGate.
I tell you, not at all, Sean. It's like nothing surprises me at all anymore. And if this is true, it makes absolute perfect sense. This is the way they always do. They put themselves to investigate themselves so that the investigation will find absolutely nothing. It is standard procedure again, again, and again. So I don't think it will blow my mind, whatever it says, I tell you.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Nobody's done more research into the areas of false flags than Ole, I don't think. And but let me ask you this: do you have your computer up? Could you Google something for me? Could you search something right now?
Of
I
course.
want you to do this, because if this is new to you, I really want to get your reaction here, caught on tape. So
Okay.
I want you to research. Do you remember the case of Madeleine McCain, the 3-year-old little girl that
Yeah.
disappeared
Of
from
course, of
Portugal?
course.
Okay. Well, of course, her parents were immediately made suspects. Richard Hall and other researchers, I think to this day, still conclude that it maybe was her parents that were responsible in some way. However, because of Pizzagate, we now have a very interesting sketch, a police sketch, that I guess has been public for years, but those of us, but it's resurfaced now because of Pizzagate. And so just Google John and Tony Podesta, Madeleine McCain, and then look for some images. And I want you to tell us what you think.
I can tell you one thing, that her parents are totally involved. That is 100% sure. Uh, it was actually in Portugal, not so far from where I live, where this whole thing happened. Is it the Podesta group you want me to check
Yeah,
out?
the Podesta brothers and then Madeleine McCain. And I want you to look for the police sketch. There's two suspects that apparently a computer-generated police sketch was released several years ago that look exactly like John and Tony Podesta. I'll send you a link here. I can always make.
And where were these sketches? And I see them now. What are these sketches made for?
Do you see the sketch that shows John and Tony next to the police sketches?
Yeah, I think so. I see that. Yeah.
Okay.
But where were these sketches made? I mean, for what? Because I've never seen that these two people would have been a suspect in this case.
Yeah,
These two drawings.
Yeah, I just closed it. I should not have done that. I had a BBC documentary that was made back in 2010, and here's what's fascinating about it. The Podesta brothers are now implicated in all sorts of potential child pedophilia because of the Pizzagate emails and the Podesta emails that have been released and researched by WikiLeaks. And apparently these people have a secret code that they use when referring to children, pizza, hot dog, etc., etc. And each one of those words, like cheese means little girl, etc. And so they talk in this coded language about food and pizza. And what's interesting about the Podesta brothers is that, and you may know this from your research, apparently they were friends with a pedophile named Clement Freud, the grandson of Sigmund Freud, who maintained a villa in Portugal less than a mile away from where Madeleine McCain disappeared. And after Madeleine disappeared, Clement Freud befriended the McCains and had them over for lunch. And Kate McCain is quoted as saying, "Thank God for people like Clement who kept us laughing through all of this." And it later was revealed after Clement's death, it was publicly revealed that he was a hardcore pedophile who had enjoyed a knighthood from the Queen. Just like Jimmy Savile got knighted by the Queen and Jimmy Savile's crimes were covered up for decades, Clement Freud died at, I think, the age 84, 86 in 2009. And of course, Madeline disappeared in 2007. Well, the researchers from the WikiLeaks PizzaGate emails here have come to the conclusion that, according to FBI insiders, John and Tony Podesta were staying at Clement Freud's villa on May 3rd, 2007. And what's really crazy about the WikiLeaks emails is that all of John Podesta's emails that have been released are scrubbed. They have none of the emails on or around May 3rd and after. It's like a month of his emails had been scrubbed and are missing. And so what researchers are trying to absolutely verify is, were Tony and John Podesta actually in Portugal on May 3rd, 2007, around the time of Madeline's disappearance? So that's what makes those sketches, those police-generated, computer-generated sketches so fascinating, is that they look awfully damn similar to John and Tony Podesta. Now, just so you know, John Podesta was Hillary Clinton's campaign manager. He's been knee-deep in the DNC and the Clinton administration for years and years and years.
Like I say, nothing surprises me anymore. I just want to say, when it comes to BBC documentaries, when you see how involved the top of the BBC have been, and I would say still are, in these pedophile networking gangs, I don't trust them at all. Well, it's hard to know who to trust in these areas. But for sure, this sounds very interesting. I'm going to look into it.
Yeah, well, I'd appreciate it if you'd look into it. It's one of the biggest stories here in this country right now. It's trending on Twitter. In fact, it was such a big deal. The subreddit on Reddit for PizzaGate just got shut down the other day by Reddit, because the powers that be are freaking out about this. They don't want this information out. And here's the punchline to that Reddit story. They shut down the PizzaGate investigation on Reddit, right? So now it lives on Vote, V-O-A-T. I think it's vote.co. But it lives on Vote, V-O-A-T. Here's the punchline. Reddit has a subreddit that's a pro-pedophile Reddit. So the pedos can all go hang out on Reddit, but the pedophile investigators get shut down on Reddit. How beautiful is that?
Like I say, nothing surprises me. Absolutely nothing. But do you know, speaking of big stories in the news, this conference that was in Dallas, with so many high-ranking researchers from around the world, it was on the anniversary, the 53rd anniversary of the assassination. Do you know how many newspapers that were there, or TV channels and so on?
It's zero.
Yes. Do you know the headlines in the Dallas morning news the very next day?
Conspiracy theorists meet in Dallas to discuss conspiracies?
Not a line. There was nothing on the front page. Zero.
Well,
and John Barber, the Emmy Award winner that I just mentioned here, he has made a documentary, really, really good documentary. It's called The Garrison Tapes Part 2. And in it, he compares to, one of the things he does is he compares the expense that media has put on cases like O.J. Simpson or these other, like Bill Clinton's blowjob, these type of things, where they've spent massive amounts and incredible amounts of hours of so-called journalistic work. People have made a complete, a totally new career. There's been news media stars from these different things. Then you compare with, for instance, the Martin Luther King trial that hardly no one knows about in 1999. There was one journalist the whole time there, one in total. And here with the other cases, zero. You're up against a wall. And this is why when things like this is released in apparently mainstream media, I doubt it, because when the real truth is there, you will not see it. When constructed news are there to distract us or to divert our attention or whatever, or sometimes they sacrifice people. This is possible that this is what they're doing here. Let
Yes.
some of them on a lower level, let them take the fall. Maybe that's what's going on here. But I totally am very aware of saying, yes, this is the truth until I really need look into it myself.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head. Look, I was on the John B. Wells show just the other day talking about PizzaGate, and as we were discussing the John and Tony Podesta sketches, I said just that. I said, look, I'm not 100% convinced that John and Tony Podesta were involved in the disappearance of Madeleine McCann. However, if we can prove that they were in Portugal, staying at the home of a pedophile on or around the time of Madeleine's disappearance, they may well have been involved in nefarious activities that did not involve the kidnapping of Madeleine McCann. However, now because we know that this international pedophile ring is in fact global and involves people at the highest levels, could it not be the case that the powers that be, this much larger pedophile ring that they may be part of, use those images as a threat to keep very powerful Podesta brothers in line? Because keep in mind, Ole, when those sketches were released back in 2010 or prior, none of us knew about PizzaGate and this pedophile ring in Washington, D.C. None of us knew that the Podesta brothers had a very prurient interest in very sick pedophilic art. None of us knew about the WikiLeaks PizzaGate emails that suggest these people enjoy pedophilia and are involved in it. So now only later do we find these sketches released in 2010 or prior that look just like John and Tony. So it suggests where there's smoke, there's fire, but it does not prove by any means that John and Tony were involved in the disappearance of Madeleine. It may just suggest that powers that be more powerful than them put that out there as some sort of threat to keep those two powerful people in line. That's sort of a theory I proposed on the John B. Wells show.
I just want to know what you say. These police sketches of wanted people. Where did they appear? I mean, and what? There were no two men that were being searched for in this case to start with.
And
And
that's,
also,
yep. I'm sorry, I'll just say, well,
I
that's,
mean,
go ahead.
Madeleine McCann was not kidnapped because she died in that apartment. There were dogs there that marked a dead body in the wardrobe, in the living room, and also in the car, the parents' car. And the parents' car was seen like weeks and weeks afterwards, standing with the open hood. No, what do you call it? The back
Trunk.
the back door open to ventilate, to get rid of the smell of a dead body. I tell you, these parents are involved. But in what way, when you look upon these pedophile trafficking network and so on, there are, even though it sounds incredibly sick and so on, there are actually parents delivering children to these rings. I mean, their own children as well.
Oh, yeah.
In a very bizarre way, and it seems like this could be the case because also the other people that were there with the McCains that evening, all of them were doctors, and all of them had similar setup in their family and so on. So it's a very, very strange event, to say the least.
Yeah, absolutely. And to hear you say that about parents involved in these types of things calls to mind the case of John Benet Ramsey and all the questions surrounding the Ramseys. And we don't need to get into that. But as it pertains to the suspect, and in this case, the two suspects here with these police sketches of what appear to be men that look exactly like Tony and John, I agree with you. It is strange because according to accounts I've read, there were two eyewitnesses and the police were looking for one suspect. So how do you get two eyewitnesses seeing somebody in the dark supposedly carrying this girl away from the apartment, and then come up with two sketches that don't look anything like each other but look exactly like John and Tony, which gets me back to my other thesis that maybe those sketches were distributed by powers that be to threaten John and Tony and keep them in line. I don't know.
That's exactly my point.
Yeah.
Because the eyewitnesses, as far as I know, they only saw a male person of average height carrying a child down through the streets towards where near the house. There was no description of the facial structure. There was a hair color, nothing like that. And here we have two perfect sketches. I mean, I don't buy this at all.
Yeah.
I think this is the way you frame people, or you or you threaten people in power position, nailing two and saying, if you don't stay in line, you're next.
Yeah.
We can nail anyone's butt in at any time. That is the message they're sending out, and as far as I can see here. So I don't trust this at all.
Yeah, well, I definitely would love to have you dig into this a little bit, Ole. And again, there's an entire, at this point, it's a global citizen investigation into PizzaGate. It's hashtag PizzaGate. I don't know if you have time to dig into this, and I don't, you probably have other priorities right now, and certainly there are many great researchers, and Anonymous is on this case, but where there's smoke, there's fire, and the PizzaGate emails suggest that John and Tony Podesta are in bed with some very nefarious characters, and that this pedo ring in Washington, D.C. is alive and well and stretches all the way to the Clinton Foundation's dealings in Haiti with missing children in Haiti. It's very, very sick. And I agree with you. The more time the more time I have spent thinking about those police sketches, the more I come to the conclusion that you share, which maybe this is a tool to keep someone in line. And I guess I really do. If we could find out that those two men were absolutely 100% staying in Clement Freud's villa, a known pedophile less than a mile away from where Madeline disappeared, it really breaks this whole thing open again, and more research needs to be done on what really happened to that little girl.
Can I tell you, I recently met one of the bravest women I've ever met in Belgium. I was doing a 6-hour presentation of the Olof Palme assassination, and I had dinner with some friends and this woman. She has spent some 30 years exposing the Satanic network in Belgium, which for some bizarre reason is the center of a lot of these things. And she has collected evidence on more or less all in the Belgian and French government involved in these. She's been in court with these people. She's been standing up against these people. I mean, my God, the courage! It just gives me the shivers thinking about even approaching these people. She's been threatened. She's had all kinds of horrific things happening to her, and she's still standing. She has she's got meters and meters of documents. I mean, thousands and thousands of documents that would put everyone away for a long time, but she's not even accepted into court with it. This is the thing, the evidence is already collected. If you look for it, it's already there. Nothing of this is news. I mean, when you start looking into it, oh, Clinton was involved. So big deal. I mean, some of us have known that for the last 20 years. Oh, the Bushes are in. Oh my God, such news. Most of us have known it for the last 20 years, and so on and so on. But a woman like that, where all the evidence is, the thing is, it's like a stone wall we're up against. It's like, boom, the door is locked, because they sit in the position where they control the courts and the governments and so on. And these judges are so involved in this as well. You can see the Marc Dutroux case in Belgium, where he was a supplier of little girls to these horrific parties and whatever, and where there were many girls missing in this area, and the police said they were looking for it, but they weren't. So these children were in his bunk, sort of like in a dungeon under his house, dying of starvation. People came there, raped them, and let them be there, and the police knew about it. They were involved in it, and the judges as well, and nothing happened. It was a massive scandal, and it's just going on and on and on. There's even a massive big castle in Belgium called I can send you the Google coordinates, and the name of it is something like the Mother of Darkness or something like that. It's taken right out of a horror movie, and that is where they meet. But nobody's doing anything, and it's an ongoing thing. So if you want to direct the investigation, I'll be very happy to point it out. And why don't we just block the streets outside, and not let them get in and out? Or expose them, just as with the Bilderberg meetings. Just put photographers out there and take photos of everyone coming in and out. And let's stop this whole thing, because children are getting slaughtered and murdered and sacrificed and raped while we're sitting here enjoying life. It's not on. It is not on in my world.
Yeah. Okay. Well, you hit the nail on the head here. I want you to jot something else down. If you're going to jot down hashtag PizzaGate, please jot down the name Spirit Cooking and the name Marina Abramovic. Marina Abramovic and Spirit Cooking, as it relates to the John Podesta case, is something that helps us understand that you're right. This is satanic. This is a satanic pedophile ring. It's a global satanic pedophile ring. And we need look no further than Jimmy Savile and his connection with Prince Charles and the Queen of England. And he was a protected pedophile and, by the way, a necrophiliac for decades. And nothing was done about it, Ole. And I just want to read this headline for folks. If anybody thinks that Ole's overstating it, listen to this. This is from 2014 from the Mirror. I watched a Tory MP murder a boy during depraved Westminster VIP pedophile party. Posted that information at SGT Report. Google that headline if you'd like to read the story. This has been going on for a millennium, I think. Ole, this has probably been going on since the beginning of time.
I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I can only depend on other people's research. I don't know, but for sure it's been going on for far too long. That is for sure.
But it is satanic,
But
isn't it?
But I tell you, one of the things with these satanic things is it's very deeply involved with Freemasonic rituals as well. I'm not saying Freemasons on a lower level, sort of the lower levels of Freemasons are only there to have sort of like a nice, shop window that will look nice from the outside. And these people have no idea what's going on at the top. I'm talking about the top of the power structure within the Freemasons. Very, very dark, very, very satanic, and so on. And what they do when they assassinate and get rid of people, they are very proud of it, and they build like monuments. They erect obelisks, almost like putting their business card down on the victim, just like in Operation Phoenix in Vietnam. With a card from a deck and so on. And it's the same here. One of the things that they love doing is build an obelisk or a pyramid very close to the site of the assassination. The obelisks are often erected like within a year or so, maybe for the to make a beautiful park nearby. But it's like within like 200-300 yards from it. So you won't really see that if you don't know it. You will be able to see, oh, it's just a park and an obelisk. But I tell you, it keeps repeating and it keeps repeating. And when I've done a lot of research over the years on the Martin Luther King assassination, and where he died was not at the Lorraine Motel. He was still alive when he was put in the ambulance. He was taken to St. Joseph's Hospital, and there a doctor by the name of Breen Bland killed him, suffocated him, in the hospital together with two people from the CIA. And so if you look at that St. Joseph's Hospital, if you Google map it, check it out, you will see right in front of where that hospital used to be, about what will be like 200 yards in the US terms, there is a massive, massive obelisk. It's like 6 stories high. It's called the Big Cypress Lodge. It's of metal. It is a super pyramid in Memphis. Check it out. Then when it's the same, again and again, the Swedish Olof Palme, the Prime Minister of Sweden, when he was killed, there's a big pyramid, but inside the courtyard, outside the building where he was assassinated, which just happened to be the former headquarters of Stay Behind, or Gladio. And also when you look at the stairs where the shooter ran away, when you stand on exactly where he was shot, you look towards the stairs, you are looking straight at an obelisk that was erected right there within a year after the assassination. And now when I was in Dallas, if you look at Dealey Plaza, it is, if from above, you will see that it's the shape of a pyramid, which is, they love these type of things. It's all ritualistic sites, or where there was a Freemasonry lodge or something like that. And Dealey Plaza was actually the place where the first Freemasonic lodge was located. It's exactly like a pyramid. You will see Main Street goes down from the bottom, middle, and up to the exact top of the pyramid. Then you got Houston Street as the bottom, and Elm Street and Commerce Street on the sides. But if you move and you put yourself on the triple underpath where some of the witnesses were that saw the killing and so on. If you put yourself in the exact location of the edge of the absolute top of the pyramid, and you look towards the school book depository, behind it, like 2-3 miles in downtown Dallas, is when you look at it from that angle, there's a perfect pyramid on top of the buildings. That is the top of one of these newly built skyscrapers, all in glass. But when you're in that exact position, it is a perfect pyramid. And right behind that, in perfect lineage, behind it, hiding behind, there's another of these skyscrapers, very high buildings, with a perfect pyramid on top, with the hole, the stone cap, everything is there on top of the whole thing. And then if you take from another angle of this, if you go and make the Daltex building, or where the Texas School Book Depository, if you make that the top of the pyramid, and then you go straight down, you put a line straight down through the base of the pyramid from another angle. The base in this case will then be Commerce Street. If you pull that, you go straight to what is called the Renaissance Tower, which is like a modern size obelisk with a massive big ball of flame on top of it. And that's the symbol for Dallas now. You can see it all over the place, and it's very beautiful at night and so on. But it is a Freemasonic symbol erected, over the killing of JFK. It is in our face. It's just being stuffed in our face, and we do not see it. It's hidden in plain sight again and again and again.
Well, they like to flaunt it. They're in control, even though we like to think they're losing control. And I think there's evidence that they're losing control. Their mainstream Mockingbird media is despised by most people in this country. I think it's less than 10% only trust the mainstream media. And you said that they didn't report at all about the conference that you guys held.
No one there.
Yeah, well, does it surprise me a bit? I mean, look at this headline from Zero Hedge. Washington Post names Drudge, Zero Hedge, and Ron Paul as anti-Clinton, quote, sophisticated Russian propaganda tools, end quote. It is the most absurd thing in the world to anyone who's awake, because Drudge and Zero Hedge alone absolutely crush any sorts of traffic the Washington Post or the New York Times combined would ever hope to get in a single day. Day in and day out, people are looking for real news and real information, truthful information from reliable sources, and people now know that the New York Times, the Washington Post, CNN, MSNBC, those are not reliable sources for anything other than propaganda.
Nope. And do you know what I saw on the way to Love Field? The airport where JFK landed and where he went to his slaughter. Do you know the avenue? It's Mockingbird Avenue. It's like,
You gotta be kidding.
no. I want to find out if that. I'm sure it was named after the assassination.
Right.
But it's Mockingbird Avenue.
Well, Ole, I really appreciate talking with you. It's always so enjoyable because you're so enlightened and such a great guy. So maybe you'll do a little research there on PizzaGate and spirit cooking and the Podesta WikiLeaks emails. I wouldn't ask you to devote your life to it. I know how busy you are, but just do a little cursory research, and maybe the next time we talk, we'll have more information to share. You know how much I do love you and your website. It's lightonconspiracies.com. And Ole, can you tell people how we can support you, either through donations or by purchasing your books?
I tell you, your listeners have been incredibly generous. It's been fantastic for me. It's also helped me to be able to get to Dallas, so I'm forever grateful for that. On my website, Light on Conspiracies, which says what I'm all about, aiming light at the very dark corners into the belly of the beast, and let the truth do the job. On my website, Light on Conspiracies, there are donation buttons. There's a newsletter to sign up for, a monthly one. There's membership area. These are the only areas of income that I have, because you don't get income from exposing these type of things, I'll tell you that. And so if you would like to support me, extremely appreciate it. And also, what I use the funds I get in for is try to get on location as soon as one of these false flag operations take place, or try even to be there before they go down, because the timeline that is used in these operations are very tight, and the people behind them have not a lot of imagination. That is why we see the same theme being repeated. And so sometimes it's possible to predict their next step and then go there and be on location and expose them before they even pull it off. So I'm also trying to put together a series of documentaries where I go on location with an undercover photographer and film on the sites where these false flags have been carried out, and then compare them with the facts that the real evidence, the fake story and the real evidence. And it's just mind blowing, I tell you, when you compare the two. And can I just say that it was incredible, because you remember the Dallas shooting a few months ago. Do you remember there were five officers said to have been killed by a black guy with a gun?
Yes, and we posted some conflicting video evidence that suggested there's a lot more going on than the news media shared.
The thing was that the official video of this whole shooting, where you see them running around in front of a building shooting at each other, one of the things that I saw right away was that they were not real ricochets, but it's called fire sparks. It's a film effect thing where it's sort of like more sparks than a ricochet, where you can see sparks from the bullet. It doesn't look like that at all. And also, of course, just as usual, it was super blurred and so on. But it was filmed from Crowley Palace, the exact same hotel where the conference was. So I managed to get on it was on the 9th floor where the swimming pool area is. I just had to climb sort of one of these, railings, stairwell railings. So I could film from exact the same spot as this was filmed. And also, it's very interesting to see, where did this shooting take place? It was the exact spot where there was more or less the only place that I saw where there were homeless people and drug addicts and so on. So the area could very easily be closed off, and the only people, the witnesses to this thing, would only be people that would not be trusted as witnesses. Then you see they run around and then shoot each other. So I went looking for bullet holes, and of course I found marks, not bullet holes, but exactly these round things where, when you have these detonations used in films, you put these they got like a sticker thing, so you add them on the walls wherever you want them to explode, and then they are fired with remote control. And I took photos. I can send the photos to you as well, of where these so-called bullets hit. Absolutely not. So this one, a major fake one once again. Can I end this interview with the same way I ended my speech at the JFK conference?
Please, yeah, absolutely.
Okay. I said to them that I have been contemplating, meditating for a long time, because we need to make a statement to the so-called elite and tell them where we stand on this and so on. I said, it's taken me a long time to get the right wording and so on, but if you feel that this is something that you support, please join me. And so I started singing, and it goes like this. I'm so tired of this bullshit, yes I am. I'm so tired of this bullshit, yes I am. We're so tired of the bullshit, we're so tired of the bullshit, yes we are. And the whole crowd in the end was singing, and because it's just crap. I mean, it's so badly carried out nowadays also. So like, let it stop. It's just ridiculous. It's come to a level which is beyond ridiculous. I mean, it's just not something anyone can be proud of, I think, on their side. So give it up.
Amen. All right. Ole, thank you so much. You're the best. Guys, the website is lightonconspiracies.com, and you know as well as I do how much Ole would appreciate your support in any way, shape, or form that you can help support his important work. Ole, stay on the line, and we'll schedule you for next time. Ole Dammegard, thanks so much.
Thank you, Sean.
God bless. Guys, thanks for listening, and if you value this information, please take the time to give it a like, share it within your sphere of influence on social media, share this link, and let's wake up our friends, neighbors, and colleagues. God bless. Thanks for watching, and check us out at sgtreport.com for real news 24/7. Bye-bye.